Velnash stood before the viewing screen in his quarters aboard the observation vessel, watching the blue and green planet rotate slowly below. Earth, the humans called it, a death world by any reasonable measure. High gravity, volatile weather, dangerous predators, and a sun that burned skin without proper protection. Yet somehow the fragile beings who evolved there had not only survived but thrived. He adjusted his 4 sensory stalks, a nervous habit from his youth. The assignment should have been simple. The Galactic Council wanted documentation of human combat effectiveness. Humans had applied to join the Coalition Defense Forces, and the Council needed proof they could handle military operations. Velnash had observed 17 different species in combat situations over his 40-year career. Humans would be number 18. The data file on his tablet showed concerning information. Humans had no natural armor, no venom, no energy manipulation abilities. They didn't even have proper claws. Their homeworld had tried to kill them for millions of years, and somehow they had fought back with nothing but stubbornness and creativity. It seemed impossible. "Observer Velnash, your transport is ready," the ship's computer announced in his native language. He gathered his recording equipment and headed to the shuttle bay. The trip down to the surface took 30 minutes. The human forward operating base sat on the edge of a contested zone on a moon called Theta 7. Mining colonies dotted the surface, and apparently some hostile species called the Vextar had been raiding them. The shuttle landed with a soft thump. Velnash stood on his 6 legs and walked down the ramp. The gravity here was lighter than Earth, which he appreciated. He couldn't imagine living in the crushing weight humans considered normal. A human waited for him at the edge of the landing pad. The figure wore combat armor painted in dull gray and green patterns. As Velnash approached, the human removed his helmet. "Observer Velnash? I'm Captain Jiho. Welcome to Firebase 12. The human's face was smooth and young-looking with dark eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. "Thank you, Captain. I am here to document your unit's combat operations for the Council." Jiho nodded. "We were briefed. You'll be embedded with my squad for the next operation. We'll make sure you have everything you need." Velnash noticed something odd in the captain's tone. Not hostility exactly, almost like amusement, as if Jiho found something funny about the situation. The captain led him through the base. Humans moved everywhere, carrying equipment, checking weapons, talking in their quick, efficient way. Velnash recorded everything with his optical sensors. The base was functional but basic. Metal walls, bright lights, and the smell of machine oil and something the humans called coffee. "This is Corporal Yunji, our combat medic," Jiho said, introducing a female human with her hair pulled back tightly. She smiled at Velnash, showing her flat teeth. "Nice to meet you, Observer. Don't worry, I'll keep you safe out there." Her voice was warm, but her eyes were sharp and focused. "And this is Private Daeun." Jiho pointed to a younger male human who looked nervous. He nodded quickly at Velnash but didn't say much. Velnash studied the humans carefully. They seemed so small, so fragile. Their skin was exposed at the neck and hands. One good strike from a Vextar warrior would tear them apart. He had seen Vextar in his files. Massive creatures over 2 meters tall with natural armor plating and razor-sharp claws. How did humans expect to fight such beings? The briefing room was simple and cold. Jiho pulled up a holographic map that showed a small colony settlement 30 kilometers away. "Vextar raiders hit Colony 7 2 hours ago," Jiho explained. 40 colonists trapped in the main building. The raiders want supplies and equipment. They're holding the colonists hostage while they strip the warehouses. "What is your plan?" Velnash asked, his translator converting his clicks and whistles into human language. "We go in, extract the colonists, eliminate the threat." Jiho said it so simply, as if it were obvious. "Eliminate? You mean kill them?" Velnash felt his sensory stalks curl in surprise. "Most civilized species tried negotiation first. They're raiders. They attacked civilians. We don't negotiate with people who hurt innocents." Jiho's voice didn't change, but something cold entered his eyes. The briefing continued. Velnash learned there were approximately 15 Vextar warriors at the colony. Jiho's squad had 12 humans. The number seemed wrong. Shouldn't they wait for more soldiers? "Captain, forgive my question, but is 12 soldiers sufficient?" "The Vextar are much larger than humans." Several humans in the room made a sound. Velnash's translator identified it as laughter. "Were they laughing at him?" "We'll manage," Jiho said with that same slight smile. "Bigger doesn't always mean better." After the briefing, Velnash was given his own armor. It was lighter than human combat armor, designed for observation rather than fighting. Corporal Yunji helped him put it on, her hands moving quickly and efficiently. "First time in a combat zone?" she asked. "No, I have observed many battles, but always from a safe distance, don't worry. Stick close to us. We'll make sure nothing happens to you." She patted his shoulder gently, and Velnash wondered if that was supposed to be comforting. The squad gathered at the dropship. Velnash counted the humans: Captain Jiho, Lieutenant Minho, Corporal Yunji, Private Daeon, and 8 others. They checked their weapons with practiced ease. Velnash noted the weapons were purely kinetic, metal projectiles fired by chemical explosives. No energy weapons, no plasma rifles, just primitive bullets. The humans talked among themselves as they prepared. They weren't quiet and serious like the other species he'd observed. They joked. They laughed. One soldier showed another soldier something on a small screen, and they both grinned. "Don't they understand the danger?" Velnash whispered to Corporal Yunji. She looked at him with those sharp eyes. "Oh, we understand. We just don't let it stop us." The dropship's engines roared to life. Everyone strapped into their seats. Velnash felt his 3 hearts beating faster. This was routine, he told himself. Just another observation mission. The ship lifted off and the base fell away below them. Through the window, Velnash could see the landscape rushing past. The colony was 30 kilometers away. They would arrive in 10 minutes. He looked at the humans around him. Private Daeon was checking his rifle for the 3rd time. Lieutenant Minho had his eyes closed, but his hands moved through some kind of mental exercise. Corporal Yunji was reviewing medical supplies. Captain Jiho sat perfectly still, watching the countdown timer on his wrist display. Then Velnash noticed something that made his sensory stalk stiffen with surprise. The humans weren't afraid. Their heart rates were elevated, yes. His sensors could detect that. But it wasn't the fear response he'd seen in other species before combat. It was anticipation. They were eager. 2 minutes to drop zone, the pilot announced over the intercom. The humans stood as one, checking each other's equipment with quick efficiency. Someone slapped Private Daeon on the back. Someone else made a joke that Velnash's translator couldn't quite interpret. They laughed again. Captain Jiho looked directly at Velnash. "Stay close to Daeon. Do exactly what he tells you." "Understand?" "Yes, Captain." "Good." Jiho turned to his squad. "Standard extraction. Fast and clean. Let's bring those people home." The humans responded with a sound Velnash had never heard before. A sharp, unified shout that echoed in the dropship's metal interior. It wasn't language. It was something older than language. The dropship's rear door began to open. Smoke and dust swirled in. Below, Velnash could see the colony buildings. He could see movement, the Vextar raiders. Harsh, dangerous, deadly, and the humans were running toward them. Velnash activated all his recording equipment. Whatever happened next, the council needed to see it. He followed Private Daeon down the ramp, his legs shaking slightly, and wondered if he had made a terrible mistake accepting this assignment. The battle was about to begin. The moment Velnash's feet touched the ground, the world exploded into chaos. Projectiles screamed through the air. Something struck the ground near him, sending up a spray of dirt and rock. His sensory stalks pulled back instinctively, and every instinct in his body screamed at him to run, to hide, to burrow into the earth like his ancestors had done. But Private Daeon grabbed his arm and pulled him behind a low wall. "Stay down," the human shouted over the noise. Velnash pressed himself against the wall, his 3 hearts pounding so hard he thought they might burst. He tried to activate his recording equipment with shaking manipulators. The council needed to see this. He needed to document everything. Through the camera feed, he watched the humans spread out with impossible speed. They didn't run away from the gunfire. They ran toward it using cover, moving in patterns that seemed chaotic but weren't. Each human knew exactly where the others were going. Captain Jiho's voice cut through the combat radio. "Minho, take your fire team left. Yunji with me. Daeon, keep the observer safe and provide covering fire." "Copy that," came the responses, calm and professional. Velnash heard a roar that made his sensory stalks curl tight against his head. A Vextar warrior emerged from behind a building. The creature was massive, easily 2.5 meters tall, with thick armor plating covering its body and arms that ended in claws designed to tear flesh. Its eyes glowed yellow in the dusty air. The Vextar raised a heavy weapon and fired in their direction. The wall above Velnash's head exploded into fragments. Private Dayon didn't hesitate. He leaned around the corner and fired 3 precise shots. The first 2 hit the Vextar's armor and bounced off. The third hit a gap at the creature's neck joint. The warrior stumbled and fell. "One down," Dayon said into his radio, his voice as calm as if he were reporting the weather. The nervous young man from the base was gone. In his place was something cold and efficient. Velnash stared. The human had just killed a creature twice his size without even pausing to think about it. "Observer, I need you to move with me," Dayon said. "When I say run, you run. Understand?" Velnash managed to nod, though his body was shaking. "Run." They sprinted across open ground to another piece of cover. Velnash heard projectiles cutting through the air around them. Something tugged at his armor. They slid behind a cargo container just as more fire raked across where they had been standing. His recording equipment captured everything. Through the camera's eye, he watched Corporal Yunji running low across the battlefield. She reached a wounded colonist who had been caught in the crossfire. Without any sign of fear, she dragged the person behind cover while projectiles hit the ground around her. "I've got you, you're okay. Just breathe," Yunji said to the terrified colonist. Her hands moved quickly, applying pressure to a wound. At the same time, she had her rifle propped against her shoulder, firing one-handed at a Vextar position. How was that possible? How could she fight and heal at the same time? Lieutenant Minho's voice came over the radio. "I have eyes on the main group. 12 targets fortified in the warehouse. They have heavy weapons. Can you flank them?" Captain Jiho asked. "Affirmative. Give me 2 minutes." Velnash watched through his camera as Minho and 3 other humans moved like shadows along the edge of buildings. The Vextar didn't even see them. When they reached position, Minho's voice came back on the radio. "In position. Ready on your mark." "Mark," Jiho said. The humans opened fire from 3 directions at once. The Vextar warriors roared in confusion and anger. They had been the hunters. Now they were being hunted. Velnash watched a Vextar warrior charge at Captain Jiho's position. The creature was fast, covering ground with long strides. Jiho stood up from behind cover, completely exposed. Velnash wanted to scream at him to get down, to hide. Instead, Jiho aimed his rifle and fired. 1 shot, 2 shots, 3 shots. Each one hit exactly where the Vextar's armor had gaps. The warrior's momentum carried it forward, but it was already dead. It crashed to the ground 3 meters from where Jiho stood. The captain didn't even look at the body. He was already moving to the next target. "Dayon, advance to the main building with the observer," Jiho commanded. "We need to secure the colonists." "Moving now," Dayon replied. He looked at Velnash. "Stay right behind me." Step where I step, they moved forward. Velnash tried to stay close, but his 6 legs weren't designed for this kind of movement. Dayon had to slow down to keep him close. A Vextar warrior appeared from a doorway, weapon raised. Dayon pushed Velnash down and returned fire in one smooth motion. The warrior fell. Dayon pulled Velnash back to his feet. "You okay?" Yes, thank you. Just doing my job." Dayon smiled, actually smiled, and continued moving. They reached the main building where the colonists were trapped. Inside, Velnash could hear crying and shouting. 2 Vextar warriors stood guard at the entrance. They saw Dayon and Velnash approaching and raised their weapons. Dayon spoke into his radio. "I've got 2 targets at the main entrance. Need support." "On it," came a female voice Velnash didn't recognize. A single shot rang out from somewhere far away. One of the Vextar warriors dropped, a hole in its head. The second warrior turned to look for the shooter. Another shot. It fell too. "Sora, you're beautiful," Dayon said into the radio. "I know," came the reply, and Velnash detected something like humor in the voice. They entered the building. 40 colonists huddled in a large room, humans and other species mixed together, children crying, adults trying to comfort them, all of them terrified. Corporal Yunji arrived moments later. "We're here to get you out," she announced to the colonists. "Stay calm. Follow our instructions and we'll have you safe within 10 minutes. One of the colonists, a human male, stepped forward. "There are more raiders outside. At least 8 of them. They'll kill us if we try to leave." "No," Unji said simply. "They won't." The confidence in her voice was absolute. Velnash wondered where it came from. These humans had faced enemies larger and stronger than themselves, and they acted as if victory was certain. Captain Jiho's voice came over the radio. "Colonists secure?" Affirmative, Yunji replied. Ready for extraction. The remaining Vextar are regrouping near the south warehouse. Minho is cutting off their retreat. We're going to finish this. Velnash felt his sensory stalks stiffen. Finish this? Why not let them retreat? Diyun looked at him with those calm, dark eyes. Because if we let them go, they'll just attack another colony. We end it here, but they're trying to flee. The battle is won. The battle isn't won until the threat is eliminated, Diyun said. That's how we do things. Through his camera feed, Velnash watched the final engagement. The remaining Vextar warriors tried to escape to their ship. But the humans had predicted it. Lieutenant Minho's team blocked the path. Captain Jiho's team attacked from behind. The Vextar were caught between them. It wasn't a battle. It was an execution. The Vextar fought hard. They were dangerous, deadly creatures. But the humans moved with precision that seemed almost mechanical. They covered each other. They communicated constantly. When one human was pinned down, another provided covering fire. They worked together like parts of a single organism. Within 5 minutes, it was over. All 15 Vextar warriors were dead. The humans had casualties, 3 wounded, none dead. Corporal Yunji was already treating the injured with quick, efficient movements. The colonists were loaded onto the dropship. Velnash stood near the landing pad recording the aftermath. His equipment had captured everything. The council would see it all. Captain Jiho approached him. The captain's armor was scorched and dented. His face was dirty with smoke and sweat, but his eyes were calm. Did you get what you needed, observer? Velnash managed to find his voice. Yes, Captain. I documented everything. Good. Jiho looked out at the colony, at the bodies of the Vextar warriors scattered across the ground. This is what we do. We protect people. We eliminate threats. We don't stop until the job is finished. I noticed, Velnash said quietly. You pursued them even when they tried to flee. Would you want them attacking another colony tomorrow? Jiho asked. Would you want more innocent people hurt because we let them go? Velnash didn't have an answer. Jiho placed a hand on his shoulder, gentle despite the violence Velnash had just witnessed. You asked me during the briefing if 12 soldiers were enough. Want to know why I smiled? Yes, because we weren't outnumbered. They were. Jiho walked away toward the dropship. Velnash stood alone in the fading light of Theta 7's sun. His recording equipment had captured everything. The speed, the precision, the absolute refusal to stop until the enemy was gone. But it had also captured something else. Something that disturbed him more than the violence. The humans had smiled. They had joked. They had shown care and compassion to the colonists and to each other. And then they had killed without hesitation or mercy. How could one species contain such contradictions? Private Dayun called to him from the dropship. Observer. Time to go! Velnash walked toward the ship on shaking legs. His assignment had just begun, and already he knew this report would be unlike any he had written before. The humans weren't what he had expected. They weren't what anyone had expected, and that thought terrified him. Velnash had expected the humans to rest after the colony extraction. They had been awake for 20 hours. They had fought a battle. Surely they would return to base and sleep. They didn't. We're tracking the Vextar mothership, Captain Jiho explained in the briefing room back at Firebase 12. Intelligence says it's landed about 40 kilometers from here in the mountain caves. The raiding party we eliminated was just one group. There's a whole nest of them. Velnash felt his sensory stalks curl in alarm. A nest? How many? Estimates say 50 to 60 warriors. Lieutenant Minho pulled up a holographic map showing rough terrain, deep caves, and narrow passages. 60? Velnash couldn't hide his shock. Captain, with respect, your squad is only 12 soldiers. Should you not wait for reinforcements? Several humans in the room made that sound again. Laughter. Observer, Jiho said patiently. If we wait, they'll scatter. They know we hit their raiding party. They know we're coming. Right now they're scared and grouped together. That's when they're vulnerable. Scared? The Vextar are apex predators on their homeworld. They are not prey animals. Specialist Sora, a quiet female human with sharp eyes, looked up from her rifle. Everything's prey to something, observer. Even apex predators. The squad departed within the hour. Velnash struggled to keep pace with the humans as they moved through the rough terrain. His 6 legs were designed for smooth surfaces and careful movement. The humans seemed to flow over obstacles that made him stumble. Private Dayun fell back to help him. The young soldier carried extra equipment without complaint, adjusting his speed to match Velnash's slower pace. "Thank you," Velnash said, embarrassed by his weakness. "No problem. This terrain is rough. Back on Earth, we train in places like this. Mountains, forests, deserts. We get used to it." Daeun offered him a drink from his water container. "Here, stay hydrated." Velnash drank, grateful for the kindness. He had read that humans were social creatures, but experiencing it was different. Despite being in hostile territory, despite tracking dangerous enemies, Daeun showed genuine concern for his comfort. They hiked for 6 hours. The sun set. The humans activated night vision equipment and continued without slowing. Velnash's own sensory stalks could detect heat signatures, but the darkness still made him nervous. "Contact," Lieutenant Minho whispered into the radio. 3 Vextar, 1 kilometer ahead. Setting up a camp, the squad stopped. Captain Jiho moved up to join Minho at the front. Velnash crept forward with his recording equipment, careful to stay quiet. Through his camera's enhanced vision, he could see the 3 Vextar warriors around a small fire. They looked relaxed, confident. Why wouldn't they be? They were massive, powerful creatures with natural armor and deadly claws. "We could take them now," one of the human soldiers whispered. "No," Jiho said softly. "Let them be." Velnash was confused. "Why would they pass up an easy target, sir?" another soldier asked. "They'll report back to the nest that they haven't seen us," Jiho explained. "Let them think we're not coming. Let them think they're safe." The squad circled around the Vextar camp, giving it a wide distance. The 3 warriors never knew how close death had come to them. As they moved past, Specialist Sora spoke quietly to Velnash. "We're pursuit predators, observer. You know what that means?" "I have read about Earth's evolutionary history," Velnash replied. "Humans evolved by chasing prey over long distances until the prey collapsed from exhaustion." "Exactly. We don't have to be faster or stronger. We just have to be more stubborn. We outlast them." She smiled in the darkness. "And we're very, very stubborn." They continued through the night. The humans didn't stop. They ate while walking, consuming dense nutrient bars that Velnash's translator identified as energy rations. They drank water from containers on their backs. They kept moving. Velnash's legs ached. His body wanted rest. The humans showed no signs of fatigue. "How are you not tired?" he asked Corporal Yunji during a brief pause. "Oh, we're tired," she said cheerfully. "But tired doesn't matter. The job matters, but don't you need sleep?" "We'll sleep when this is done." She checked his vital signs with a small medical scanner. "Your stress levels are high. Do you need medication?" "No, How can you be so calm?" Hyunji looked at him with those sharp, kind eyes. "Because I trust my team. Because I know what we're doing is right. And because stopping won't help anyone." They found the cave entrance at dawn. Lieutenant Minho and 2 scouts had been ahead, marking the trail. Now the whole squad gathered at a safe distance to plan. "The nest is deep inside," Minho reported. "Multiple chambers. Dozens of Vextar. They've set up defensive positions at the entrance." "Expected," Jiho said. He studied the cave opening through binoculars. "They think we'll attack directly. We won't." "Alternative entrance?" Minho asked. "We'll make one." Sergeant Hunwoo moved forward. Velnash had barely noticed this human during the mission. He was quiet, focused, and carried a large pack on his back. Now he unpacked it, revealing blocks of explosive material. "I can blow a hole through the side of the mountain," Hyunwoo said. "Collapse part of their tunnel system. Force them out into the open." "Do it," Jiho ordered. Velnash watched in fascination as Hyunwoo worked. The human moved with absolute confidence, placing explosives with mathematical precision. He hummed a tune while he worked, something musical and light. "Isn't he afraid?" Velnash whispered to Private Daeun. "Hyunwoo? He's one of the calmest people I know. He says working with explosives is like meditation." "That seems contradictory." Daeun grinned. "Welcome to humanity, observer." The charges were set. The squad moved to a safe position. Hyunwoo checked his detonator one last time, then pressed the button. The explosion was massive. Part of the mountain's side collapsed inward, sending up a huge cloud of dust and debris. Alarms rang out from inside the cave. Velnash heard roaring. The Vextar were panicking. "Wait for it," Captain Jiho said calmly. Vextar warriors began pouring out of the main cave entrance. They were confused, angry, disorganized. They didn't know where the attack had come from. They couldn't see the humans positioned on higher ground, hidden behind rocks and ridges. "First target mark," Specialist Sora said. Her rifle fired. A Vextar warrior fell. "Second target mark," another shot. Another warrior down. The Vextar realized they were under attack. They tried to take cover, but the entrance to their cave was exposed. They were trapped between the collapsed tunnel behind them and the open ground in front. "Fire teams, engage," Jiho ordered. The battle was different from the one at the colony. This time the humans controlled everything. They had high ground. They had cover. They had prepared the battlefield. The Vextar had nothing but their strength and armor. It wasn't enough. Velnash watched through his camera as the humans fired with disciplined precision. They didn't waste ammunition. Each shot was calculated. When a Vextar tried to charge up the slope toward them, 3 different humans fired at once, bringing it down before it got close. "They're trying to retreat back into the caves," Lieutenant Minho reported. "Hyunwoo, seal it," Jiho commanded. Another explosion. The main cave entrance collapsed, trapping the remaining Vextar outside. Now they had nowhere to run. The battle lasted 20 minutes. When it was over, 32 Vexitar warriors lay dead on the slope. The humans had suffered minor injuries, cuts, bruises, one twisted ankle. Nothing serious, but it wasn't over. "There are still Vextar alive inside the collapsed tunnels," Minho said. "Maybe 20 or 30 of them." "Then we go in and finish it," Jiho said. "Captain," Velnash spoke up, his voice shaking. "The battle is won. They're trapped. Can't you just leave them?" Every human turned to look at him. The expressions on their faces were patient but firm. "Observer," Captain Jiho said quietly. "If we leave them alive, what happens?" "They dig out. They repair their ship. They attack another colony. More innocent people die." He shook his head. "We don't do halfway. We finish what we start." The squad prepared to enter the caves. Velnash watched them check their equipment, their weapons, their lights. They were about to go into dark, cramped tunnels where the Vextar had every advantage, and they weren't afraid. Private Dune saw Velnash's distress. "Hey, Observer, you don't have to come inside. You can wait here where it's safe." Part of Velnash wanted to accept. Every part of his being screamed at him to stay in the light, in the open air, away from the danger. But he was an observer. He had a duty. "No," he said. "I will document everything. It's my job." Dune smiled and patted his shoulder. "You're braver than you think." They entered the caves as the sun reached its highest point. Inside it was dark and close. The air smelled of dust and something else, fear. The Vextar knew the humans were coming. The hunt had begun, and Velnash was beginning to understand something that chilled him to his core. The Vextar weren't the hunters anymore, they were the prey. And humans, he was learning, were very good at hunting. The caves had been cleared 3 days ago. Velnash thought the mission was complete. He was wrong. "New intelligence," Captain Jiho announced at the morning briefing. "A Vextar warfleet is heading toward Colony 12. 200 warriors. They'll arrive in 6 hours. The room fell silent. Even the humans seemed shocked by the number. 200? Lieutenant Minho asked. "How many defenders does the colony have?" 30 militia members. Mostly civilians with basic training. Jiho looked at his tablet. "Command is sending reinforcements, but they won't arrive for 12 hours. So the colony will fall," Velnash said quietly. The mathematics were simple. 30 untrained defenders against 200 Vextar warriors. It was hopeless. "Not if we get there first," Jiho said. The room erupted in discussion. Velnash listened in disbelief as the humans started planning. They were actually considering fighting. "Captain," Velnash spoke up, "your squad is 12 soldiers. Even with the militia, you will be outnumbered nearly 5 to 1. This is suicide." Jiho looked at him with those calm, dark eyes. "Maybe, but there are 3,000 colonists at Colony 12. Families, children. If we don't hold until reinforcements arrive, they all die. But you will die too." "Probably," Corporal Unji said. She was organizing medical supplies, her hands moving quickly. "But that's the job, Observer. We protect people, even if it costs us everything." Velnash couldn't understand. Every survival instinct he possessed screamed that this was wrong. You didn't sacrifice yourself for strangers. You didn't throw your life away for impossible odds, but the humans were already moving. They loaded into dropships. They checked weapons. They prepared for battle with the same calm efficiency they showed for everything else. Private Dune sat next to Velnash during the flight to Colony 12. The young soldier was quiet, staring at a small photograph in his hand. It showed a woman and a small child. Your family? Velnash asked. My sister and my nephew, Daeun said softly. He's 4 years old. He wants to be a pilot when he grows up. You could die today. Don't you want to see them again? Daeun looked at him with eyes that suddenly seemed much older. That's exactly why I'm doing this, Observer, so that kids like my nephew can grow up safe, so families don't have to be afraid of raiders and monsters. He put the photograph back in his pocket. Some things are worth dying for. They arrived at Colony 12 with 2 hours to spare. The colony was larger than the others Velnash had seen. Buildings spread across several square kilometers. The militia commander, a grizzled human male, met them at the landing pad. Captain Jiho, thank the stars you're here. What's your defensive situation? Jiho asked. All business. Bad. We've got barriers set up at the main approaches, but they won't hold long against heavy weapons. We're evacuating civilians to the shelters, but there's not enough room for everyone. Jiho studied the colony layout on his tablet. His fingers moved across the screen, marking positions. We'll set up a kill zone here, and here. Slow them down. Make them pay for every meter. Velnash watched as the humans transformed the colony into a fortress. Sergeant Hyunwoo placed explosives at key choke points. Lieutenant Minho positioned militia members at defendable positions. Specialist Sora found a high building and set up her sniper rifle. Corporal Yoonji established a medical station in a reinforced bunker. She taught militia members basic first aid with quick, clear instructions. Captain Jiho stood at the main barrier, looking out at the empty plain beyond the colony. Velnash approached him with his recording equipment. Captain, I must ask again, why are you doing this? Command could order the evacuation of the colony. Lives could be saved by retreating. Jiho didn't turn around. You know what happens when you abandon a colony, Observer? The raiders come back. They always come back. They learn that humans run away and they get bolder. More attacks, more deaths. Now he looked at Velnash. We make our stand here. We show them that humans don't run. We show them that every attack will cost them blood. Even if it costs yours, especially then. Jiho's voice was soft but absolutely certain. Fear is a powerful weapon, Observer. If the Vextar learn to fear humans, they'll think twice before attacking our colonies. The Vextar fleet arrived right on schedule. Massive ships landed on the plain and warriors poured out like insects from a hive. Velnash counted them through his camera. 216. All armed, all armored. They advanced on the colony in a massive wave. Here they come, Jiho said into the radio. Remember the plan. We hold until reinforcements arrive, no matter what. Yes, sir, came the replies from around the colony. The first wave hit Sergeant Hyunwoo's explosive traps. The detonations tore through the Vextar ranks, sending bodies flying. But there were so many of them. They kept coming. Fire, Jiho commanded. Every weapon in the colony opened up at once. The noise was deafening. Velnash watched through his camera as the humans fired with desperate precision. The Vextar fell, but there were always more behind them. The battle became a nightmare. The Vextar were everywhere, pushing forward despite their losses. The humans fought from every position, from every window, from every barrier. Velnash saw Private Daeun holding a section of wall with 2 militia members. They fired until their weapons ran dry, then reloaded and fired again. A Vextar warrior climbed over the barrier. Daeun met it with his combat knife, moving with brutal efficiency. He saw Corporal Yoonji running through fire to reach wounded soldiers. She dragged them to safety, patched their wounds, and sent them back to fight. When a Vextar warrior tried to enter her medical station, she shot it without hesitation and returned to treating the injured. He saw Lieutenant Minho coordinating fire from 6 different positions, his voice calm even as explosions rocked the building he was in. When the building started to collapse, Minho and his team moved to a new position and continued fighting. But the humans were being overwhelmed. There were too many Vextar, too many angles of attack. Captain West Barrier is falling, someone shouted over the radio. Reinforcing, Jiho replied. He grabbed 3 nearby soldiers and ran toward the threatened position. Velnash followed, recording everything. He had to document this. The council needed to see what humans were willing to do. At the West Barrier, he saw something that would stay with him forever. Specialist Sora was there, firing her rifle as fast as she could pull the trigger. A Vextar warrior got close enough to swing at her. The claws tore through her armor and into her side. Sora fell, but she didn't stop shooting. Sora's hit. Someone yelled, Corporal Yunji was there in seconds. She pulled Sora behind cover and examined the wound. Velnash saw her face go pale. It was a mortal wound. Everyone could see it. I'm still in this fight, Sora gasped. She tried to raise her rifle again. You need to rest, Yunji said, her voice breaking for the first time. No time. Sora pushed the rifle into position. Tell my family. Tell them I did my job. She fired 3 more shots before her strength failed. Corporal Yunji held her hand as the light faded from her eyes. Then Yunji stood up, tears streaming down her face, and returned to the battle without missing a beat. Velnash felt something break inside him. How could they do this? How could they keep fighting after watching their friends die? All positions report, Captain Jiho commanded. The responses came back. Casualties mounting, ammunition running low. But no one suggested retreat. No one suggested surrender. Reinforcements are still 8 minutes out, Lieutenant Minho reported. Can we hold? We have to, Jiho replied simply. The Vextar pushed harder. They were close to breaking through now. Velnash could see it. The defenses were crumbling. And then he heard something that made his sensory stalk stand straight up. The humans were singing. It was a military march, one they all seemed to know. Their voices rose above the sounds of battle, rough and defiant. They sang while they reloaded. They sang while they fought. They sang while they died. Velnash didn't understand the words, but he understood the meaning. It was a challenge, a refusal to surrender, a declaration that they would fight until their last breath. Captain, Lieutenant Minho's voice came over the radio. I'm calling orbital strike on my position. The Vextar have breached the building. I can't hold them. There was a pause. Then Jiho said quietly, confirmed. It's been an honor, Minho. Honor is mine, sir. The explosion lit up the sky. The building disappeared along with Lieutenant Minho and 30 Vextar warriors. Private Dayun saw it happen. He screamed in rage and grief, then turned back to his position and fought even harder. The humans were breaking, not their bodies, their spirits. Velnash could see it in their faces. They knew they were going to die. They knew this was the end, and they kept fighting anyway. Reinforcements incoming, someone shouted. 2 minutes. Hold the line, Jiho roared. 2 more minutes. We can do 2 more minutes. The humans found strength from somewhere deep inside. They pushed back against the Vextar advance. They made the raiders pay for every step forward. Coalition ships appeared in the sky. Drop pods rained down, carrying fresh troops. The Vextar war party, seeing new enemies arriving, began to retreat to their ships. Captain Jiho's voice came over the radio, cold as ice. All units pursue and destroy. We finish this. But Velnash saw that Jiho could barely stand. He was wounded in a dozen places. Most of the human squad was dead or dying. 6 months had passed since the battle at Colony 12. Velnash stood in the grand chamber of the Galactic Council, facing the representatives of 247 species. His sensory stalks trembled slightly, but not from fear this time. The chamber was massive, with seats rising in tiers around a central platform where he stood. Holographic displays showed his recorded footage from the human combat operations. The council had watched it all. Every battle, every death, every impossible victory. Now they waited for his official assessment. Observer Velnash, the council speaker said, her voice echoing through the chamber. You have observed human military operations for 3 months. You were embedded with a human combat unit during multiple engagements. The council requests your evaluation. Should humanity be accepted into the Coalition Defense Forces? Velnash activated his presentation. His 3 hearts beat steadily. He had practiced this speech 100 times. Honored council members, I will begin with statistics. The human unit I observed consisted of 12 soldiers. During my observation period, they engaged in 7 combat operations. They faced enemies that outnumbered them, outweighed them, and had natural advantages including armor, claws, and greater physical strength. He paused as new footage appeared on the displays. The humans achieved victory in all 7 operations. They suffered a casualty rate of 42%. 5 soldiers died. 7 survived with various injuries. In exchange, they eliminated 347 enemy combatants and saved over 4,000 civilian lives. Murmurs spread through the chamber. The numbers were impressive, but the council had seen impressive numbers before. However, Velnash continued, statistics do not tell the complete story. To understand humans, you must understand where they come from. New images appeared: Earth, in all its beautiful and terrible glory. Oceans, mountains, storms, predators. Humans evolved on what we classify as a hell-class world. High gravity, extreme weather, dangerous fauna, a sun that damages unprotected skin. Most species would have gone extinct. Humans thrived.
Do you know how?
He let the question hang in the air. They became pursuit predators. On Earth, most predators are ambush hunters. They attack quickly and retreat if they fail. Not humans. Human ancestors would choose prey and follow it. For hours, for days. They would track it until it collapsed from exhaustion. Then they would kill it, more footage played. Humans moving through rough terrain. Humans tracking the Vextar through caves. Humans pursuing enemies who tried to flee. This hunting strategy shaped everything about them. Their bodies evolved to run long distances. Their minds evolved to think ahead, to predict prey movement, to plan. They became the most patient predators their world had ever seen. Velnash moved to the next part of his presentation. But this is not what makes humans dangerous in combat. Many species are predators. What makes humans unique is that they evolved something else alongside their hunting instinct. He showed footage of Corporal Unji treating wounded soldiers, of Private Daeun sharing water with him, of Captain Jiho placing his hand on a frightened colonist's shoulder. Humans have extraordinary capacity for empathy. They form emotional bonds not just with their own species but with others. They call it pack bonding. I experienced it myself. Within days of meeting me, human soldiers were protecting me, helping me, treating me as one of their own. This seems contradictory, one council member interrupted. How can a species be both ruthless predators and empathetic caregivers? That is exactly my point, Velnash replied. The contradiction is what makes them formidable. Humans are dangerous to things they perceive as threats. They are protective of things they perceive as pack members, and their definition of pack is incredibly broad. He showed footage of the battle at Colony 12. Watch this. These soldiers had never met the colonists before. They had no biological or social connection to them, yet they were willing to die to protect them. 5 humans gave their lives for 3,000 strangers. The chamber was silent now. Every representative watched the footage with intense focus. This brings me to the most important observation, Velnash said. His voice grew quieter, forcing the council to listen carefully. Every species in this chamber evolved from prey animals. We developed intelligence to hide, to flee, to avoid threats. When we face danger, our instinct is survival through escape. He paused, letting that sink in. Humans evolved as predators. When they face danger, their instinct is to eliminate the threat, not to flee, not to hide, to remove the danger completely. New footage showed the humans pursuing the Vextar even as they tried to retreat. This is why they do not accept surrender easily. This is why they hunt enemies instead of letting them escape. In their minds, a threat that escapes is a threat that will return, so they finish what they start. This sounds like a species that would be dangerous to the coalition itself, another council member said. Why should we allow such aggressive beings into our defense forces? Velnash had expected this question. He showed new footage. Corporal Unji treating a wounded Vextar warrior after a battle. Captain Jiho offering water to a captured raider. Because humans do not see everyone as threats. Once a being is defeated, once it is no longer dangerous, humans often show mercy. They have strict rules about treatment of prisoners. They have elaborate codes of honor regarding non-combatants. They are capable of great violence, yes, but only toward those who threaten what they protect. He showed footage of Private Daeun sitting against the wall after the battle, his face filled with grief. And humans feel the cost of violence deeply. They do not celebrate death. They mourn their fallen. They feel guilt for those they could not save. This emotional response keeps them from becoming mindless killers. Velnash moved to his final slides. I must also discuss human resilience. During my observation, I watched humans operate for 48 hours without sleep. I watched them continue fighting with serious injuries. I watched them function normally while processing grief over dead friends. How is this possible? A council member asked. Because humans have accepted mortality in a way we have not. Every human knows they will die someday. They have made peace with this fact. It does not make them suicidal, but it makes them willing to risk death for things they believe are important. He showed footage of the humans singing as they fought. This is a human military song. They were singing it while facing death. Do you understand what that means? They were mocking death. They were refusing to be afraid of it. The chamber was completely silent now. Honored Council, you asked if humans should be accepted into the Coalition Defense Forces. My answer is no. Shocked murmurs rippled through the chamber. They should not be accepted as regular members, Velnash continued. They should be offered leadership positions. Humans are not just capable soldiers. They are natural warriors. Every instinct they possess makes them perfect for combat operations. But more than that, they have something we desperately need. He gestured to the footage playing across all the displays. Humans know how to face fear and continue anyway. Humans know how to protect others even at cost to themselves. Humans know how to make impossible decisions and live with the consequences. These are not common traits in the galaxy. These are traits we need. One of the senior council members leaned forward. Observer Velnash, are you saying that humans are superior to other species? No, Velnash said firmly. I am saying humans are different. Every species has strength. Humans' strength is that they are willing to be the ones who face danger, so others don't have to. They are willing to be the predators so the rest of us can remain prey. He showed one final piece of footage. Captain Jiho, wounded and exhausted, standing at the memorial for his fallen soldiers. This is Captain Jiho. He led the unit I observed. He lost 5 soldiers under his command. By any measure, he succeeded. He saved thousands of lives. He defeated superior enemy forces. But when I spoke to him after the battle, do you know what he said? Velnash played the audio recording. Jiho's voice rough with grief. 5 soldiers died because I wasn't good enough. I should have found a way to save them all. That is the mindset of human warriors, Velnash said. They do not celebrate their victories. They focus on their failures. They always think they could have done better. This drive for perfection, combined with their natural abilities, makes them the most effective combat force I have ever observed. He looked around the chamber at all the representatives. But I must give you a warning. If you accept humans into the coalition, you must understand what you are accepting. You are accepting a species that will question your orders if they believe those orders will result in unnecessary deaths. You are accepting a species that will take risks you consider foolish to protect those under their care. You are accepting a species that will never ever give up once they commit to something. And if we reject their application, a council member asked, then you are making a grave mistake, Velnash said bluntly. Because the next time a threat emerges, the next time colonies need protection, humans will remember that we rejected them, and they will protect their own worlds first. Can you blame them? He deactivated his presentation. I have one more thing to say. During my observation, I was terrified. I experienced trauma.